I'm Ann Sperling. I'm a Canadian winemaker, and these are my liquid pleasures. I'm a Canadian winemaker, and I've been in the industry actually making wine since the mid-1980s. Currently, I'm a winemaking consultant primarily in the Niagara region, but as well I have a beautiful little vineyard in Argentina that I own with my husband, where we make our Versado Malbec. So the Lailey Vineyard is actually a really important property in Niagara. It started in the 1970s with the Lailey family, Donna and David, and they established a vinifera vineyard here, which was really unique at the time, and developed a reputation for the Niagara River Parkway and the region. Recently, it's been purchased, and the new owners, Faik Turkman, is revitalizing the old reputation of the Lailey property, and I'm so excited to be part of that process. It's a beautiful drive down the Niagara River Parkway. It's very close to Niagara-on-the-Lake and the Canada-US border, so it's great for tourism. And it's a very old property with mature trees and just a really lovely feel when you come in, and of course they have a beautiful range of wines that we've been making from this vineyard. I mentioned earlier about doing my consulting winemaking in Niagara primarily, but also my husband and I have this beautiful 1920s planting of Malbec in Argentina. So totally different season, Southern Hemisphere. We can do our work and focus on our work here in the Northern Hemisphere, but then when we go down south, we can really get into the old vines that we have and the really unique situation of our vineyard there. And it's a very small vineyard, so it's really more about geeking out as viticulturists and winemakers and doing something completely different from what we can do in Canada. So in order to taste each barrel as it's evolving in the cellar, we use obviously our glass and our wine thief, and we draw a sample from essentially a glass tube that gives us enough of a sample for tasting. So then, of course, I can see the color. I have sufficient there for swirling. I make my notes and taste. And this gives me some, just a little more information about each barrel that comes together as part of the blend. So yeah, blending is something that's not necessarily talked about a lot in the wine industry. It's a lot more exciting to look at the barrels or look at the equipment or see the grapes hanging in the vine. But in fact, blending is a really important skill for a winemaker to have. And so we start in the vineyard, we start with the season, we work with the climate that we're in and the terroir, and we do everything in the vineyard to kind of influence those grapes all the way up until harvest. And then processing, for me, I'm always thinking about, as I'm walking through the vines, how am I going to handle these grapes? What's going to be the best way to kind of produce this wine or this raw wine from the harvest? And then after the fermentation, we go to barrels, and the wine, especially when we're talking about red wine here, We go to the barrels, and then the wine is in those individual vessels for a very long time, often up close to 2 years. And then as it's evolving, we call that élevage, and we're doing a lot of tasting, taking notes, and all the while, kind of in the back of my brain, things are coming together. So, and that's really blending. So it's all of that information, all of that data collection that's kind of coming through the wine, and then prior to bottling, we want to make the best wine possible. So blending is bringing those individual barrel lots together. They might be vineyard lots, they might be different varietals coming together in a certain way, and really elevating the stature of any individual element that we have to work with in the cellar. So it's, and so as that comes together, we see different facets, nuance, complexity. Those are all the things that we're looking to elevate the wine, and then bring it together before bottling, and then it's like, well, let's wait and see. There's a lot of emphasis put on the concept of either like non-interventionist or terroir winemaking, or allowing the terroir to speak, and certainly those are important concepts, but at the same time I think that the winemaker is also very important. So the skill of the winemaker is to bring all those nuanced differences that we either create at harvest time by harvesting different lots or by fermenting slightly differently, and obviously age or élevage on each of the individual barrels. But it's my job to be able to recognize how those individual characteristics come together and to elevate the wine by blending and choosing these barrels or this percent of that, or slight variations in the blend, in order to elevate the wine and create something that's greater than the sum of its parts.